here I am with Folo. Can you please introduce yourself? I feel like you would know.
Hi, my name is Folo Storms. I'm an actor, host, presenter, voiceover artist, a queen of many talents. That's who I am, essentially. But it's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to meet you. So can you please just tell us what's going on here? Just give us clarity on the event.
All right. Okay, so today is the launch of the In Bloom anthology series. It is by a beautiful collaboration, actually, between the MTV Staying Alive Foundation as well as Paramount, and is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, the In Bloom anthology is essentially 5 short stories by female filmmakers from all across the world, and it focuses on a few key themes. So we're looking at period poverty, HIV/AIDS, gender-based violence, female economic empowerment, as well as gender. There's one more thing I'm missing. What is the last thing? Yes, well, a few of these key themes, and it's really important because we find that as women in the world, it's very easy to overlook some of these issues. It's very easy to say, oh yeah, we've spoken about it before, but there's nothing quite like content or filmmaking to act as a mirror for society, to hold up realities that we experience on a day-to-day level, but we don't think about, because often when we talk about any of these subjects that I've spoken of, it's a graph, it's some kind of mathematical, do you know that this percentage, and everyone's brain shuts off. So essentially we're here for the launch event to show you in a very real way, and I think in a very relatable way, what a lot of women are going through across the world and how we can better balance that inequality, which is really what this whole event is about.
So how has your experience been with the movie?
Okay, so I play a character called Simi. She's the lead character in one of the short films called Afefe, and it is a story that's based in the world of Nigeria, essentially. And Simi is, I think, such a relatable character for so many people. She is a young mother who is trying to make ends meet and is doing her best, and without giving too much away, she's getting there, but she's suddenly faced with this choice, which is not really a choice. She's told, your sick mother-in-law is around, go and sort it out, when she has this huge opportunity that's shown up for her. So it's a question of, all right, why is it, you tend to ask yourself, as a woman, and all our audience should be asking themselves, why is it that women are quite often pushed with that responsibility of caregiving without regard to the economic realities for them. So through that story, you sort of figure out whether she makes that decision, whether she doesn't, and what happens to her in that. So for me, when I was asked to be a part of the project, it was a no-brainer, because I think being involved in media on any level, when I started as a producer, was fundamentally to tell important stories. If you're dealing with news, whether as a producer, a front of camera person, it doesn't matter. You are giving opinion, or you are sharing stories with the general public, and generally the public will walk away with your impression of what's happening in the world. So that's kind of what we've done, and that's the role I played in this film.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. So with I'm usually like on social media.
Okay.
So there was this like a quarrel about not having an international Men's Day. So it's like, oh, it's always International Women's Day, there's Mother's Day, there's no, it's just like Father's Day, but there's no International Men's Day. So how do you feel about that?
I feel that the world that we're in, every day is International Men's Day. That's the reality. We may not like the way that sounds, and I can understand perhaps for younger generations of men who may feel like, you're not talking about us. The reality is we're talking about people who are primarily disenfranchised. The world operates, whether again we like it or not, currently as a patriarchy. So what we're looking at when we have events like International Women's Day, which is coming up on the 8th of March, which is when the In Bloom anthology launches on BET, come on. The reason we have that is to address the real problems, the real inequalities that are there. We see quite often, again, if you are in a household with a man and a woman and there's a problem within the family and one partner has to give up a job, they'll say, well, the woman should do it. It's her job. Is that not her role? And that's a pressure that a lot of us are facing. Sometimes even when that woman makes more money, even when she's the higher earner, even when she's the one that has a better chance of progressing. And is that really fair? So really what the MTV Staying Alive Foundation is doing through the In Bloom anthology is really addressing inequity. Not just inequality, but inequity. And again, the statistics show globally that there is huge inequity in that space. Again, when we look at things like gender-based violence, primarily it's skewed heavily to the disadvantage of women. Women are the ones who typically, at least in Nigeria, by age 15, about 1 in 3 women will have experienced some form of physical violence. That's a staggering number considering the percentage we make up almost half of the world. So it's not to say that we don't care about men and we don't love our men. Of course we do, which is again why we have to have these conversations. It's why we have to have these days, so that we can include men in the conversation. So we can say, brother, come, let me tell you what's going on. You may not understand it because you know that comes from a place of privilege, but this is the reality. And again, that's what films like this are supposed to do, to hold up that mirror, to challenge our audience's perception and understanding of the world that they live in, and to realize that, okay, let's actively do something. The set that I shot on, for example, over 60% of the people on set identified as women. That was so dope. Most of the camera crew, women. Focus puller, woman. Like, it was so nice to just be in that space. And I didn't even think about it till someone pointed out, and I thought, oh my gosh, of course. And I think when women again work together in that sort of capacity, we learn to think consciously about including ourselves in those spaces, about remembering that there are women who occupy these spaces, who occupy what some may think of as non-traditional gender roles or spaces. Let's talk about the reality of period poverty. Do you know the millions of women that don't have access to sanitary towels? Men don't think about that because, again, there's this idea of it's taboo. Don't talk about bleeding. You have to, if you don't include the boys, how will they know? That's why you will not have safe spaces to change your sanitary products. That's why you don't have clean toilets to go into, because boys can stand up and pee outside. But they don't think of that reality of what it is for the girl child, which is why we have these days and why we must continue to engage in content creation that includes our brothers, that includes our uncles, that includes our fathers, in a real conversation to inspire inclusion, which I think is the theme actually of this year's International Women's Day. I know I've gone at length, but I'm really passionate about this because see, it's not man versus woman, it's not you on that side, us on this side, it's we. But because you don't understand some of the issues, we're going to create safe spaces where girls and women can come together, share experiences, and figure out the best way to put it out to the general public, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, so looking into the future, do you think that there's a possibility that gender-based violence might lessen or not be?
To be honest, I think that we are seeing stronger strides to eliminating gender-based violence, but it is something that is very real and very present at the moment. We hope for that sort of future where it's no longer reality. But for the moment, it is. And as long as it is, we have to keep talking about it. We can't get desensitized. We can't ignore it. We can't pretend it's not a problem. It's a real problem.
And are there any genders, do you believe that there are specific gender roles that should be taught to women and men? Or let me say, rather, girls, from a young age, oh, you should stay in the kitchen. And boys are like, oh, you should go just work
I believe that it is everyone's responsibility as an individual to learn how to best care for themselves and those that they love, in whatever capacity that may be. We live in a world where you are required to earn a living to some extent or know how to till the land. You never know what might happen to your partner, your relatives, your brothers, your sisters, your uncles. It doesn't matter. If one person is not available, you should be able to step in and do that job. It is your responsibility as a human being to learn as much of what it means to be human and how to best care for not just yourself, but your loved ones. I don't think that falls into a gender-specific role. I think that's just a human responsibility. So, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, time is not on our side. We're going to have to close the interview. But it was lovely having you. Thank you for, being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.